the chat, Penny. I know at the Iyengar studios, they buy chairs and then they knock the backs out. So it's just a loop at the top without this part. I guess you have to buy a higher steel, higher density, strong metal. I wouldn't want to risk it on one of these cheap aluminum chairs. But they knock these out at the Iyengar studio so bigger people can fit in there. Do you have one of these? She's got a cushion. Okay, cushion will do. Cushion will do. All right. You guys just want to pull out all the toys? So welcome to Monday night, October yoga. And we're going to have a seat on your chair. And if you have a chair plus a stability disc, you have to work a little bit harder to stay stable. You're going to need a pair of matching blocks, a belt, and some sort of padding, couch cushion, pillow, folded towel. And sitting on your chair, with or without the stability disc, when you sit on that chair, again, with or without the stability disc, you want to make sure you have a nice flat lap. So if sitting on that extra height of the stability disc elevates your hips too much in relation to your knees and your thighs are slanting down, then you're going to need 2 blocks. You're going to put those blocks underneath your feet, fully support your feet so that you have a nice level lap. Use enough height underneath your feet so you have a nice level lap. And then you'll notice I'm sitting as ladylike as possible. I'm going to encourage you to do the same. Just sit and relax, and whatever width apart your knees takes, let your feet be that width apart. So feet underneath knees. So your shins are vertical, straight up and down. And hopefully you've positioned your feet wide enough, your knees comfortably enough, so that there's no effort required to hold this position. And you want to inch your toes, your feet forward enough so that your toes stick out past your knees. So if you were to see this from profile view, you would see the shins are straight up and down from the profile view, and also front view. And then shoulders up, back, and down. I'm going to reach back, lift, and separate. Try to really fully embrace that disc. Spread myself out over top of that disc and maybe get those sit bones to make contact with the disc. If you're not on a disc, spread the flesh so that your sit bones make contact with whatever you are sitting upon. And then take a shoulder shrug up, back, and down. Release your arms to your sides with your palms turned forward. Take a great big shoulder shrug. Inhale up. Exhale, back and down. One more time. Great big shoulder shrug. Great big yawn. Inhale up. And exhale, back and down. You're going to slide your hands forward. Your elbows come onto your lap. And just let your arms dangle, your hands dangle. So there's many different styles of yoga that fall under the umbrella term Hatha yoga. So there's many subsets or subspecies or styles of Hatha yoga. And one of the first that I was trained in is called Svarupa yoga, S-V-A-R-O-O-P-A. And that was all about starting at the tailbone and releasing up the spine. So starting at the tailbone and working your way up towards the base of the skull. And in that style of Svarupa yoga, there's the magic 4. The 4 poses they recommend you do every single class. And one of them is this slow motion forward dive. So with your elbows planted on your laps, hopefully I killed enough time so that your bones started settling in. You relaxed your butt cheeks. And your legs have relaxed. Again, they're positioned wide enough apart that you're not holding them in place. And then you're going to start to drop your head. Let your chin curl in towards your chest. Or ideally, you keep your sit bones anchored to whatever you are sitting upon. And your elbows are on your lap. And you're tucking your chin in towards your chest, letting your shoulders move away from your ears. And begin a slow motion forward dive, leading the way with the top of your head. You're going to get to a point in this slow motion dive where, if it works for you, you might be tempted to release your hands down to your feet, onto those blocks. Now in a proper Svarupa style yoga studio, you would have another set of blocks between your legs to put your hands on. So your arms would be straight down out of your shoulders. It is more important to have support than it is to position your arms perfectly straight up and down. So put your hands on your shins, on your feet, on your blocks, so that your arms are straight. Again, if you have that second pair of blocks and you can put them between your feet, have your arms straight down out of your shoulders, go there. Still with your head hanging heavy. Chin tucked into your chest. Keep breathing. And quite often I'm just talking to kill time, give you something to think about as you settle in. And as you begin to settle in, as you begin to melt a little further forward, you might be able to bring your hands down to a lower level. Maybe eventually put fingertips on the ground. And keep breathing. So moving one stage at a time, being supported, feel support at every stage. So never do your arms dangle. Always hands braced on something, elbows braced on something, so that you can control how much weight you are hanging from your spine. Keep breathing. And eventually, you want that pull, the downward pull of gravity, to start at the top of your skull, a unicorn horn, and work its way down your spine all the way to the sacrum, which is that triangular shaped bone at the base of your spine, right where your tramp stamp is, that sacrum area. At the very base of the sacrum, at the very tip of your sacrum is your tailbone, your coccyx. Probably not going to feel anything down there. All right, head hanging heavy. We want to come out the way we went in slow motion, in reverse. So if your hands are indeed on the ground, you're going to turn or bring your hands up to your feet or onto blocks. We're going to pause for 2, maybe 3 slow breaths. Then work up to the next highest level. Maybe your elbows come up onto your lap. And you pause and you breathe. And then maybe one hand, both hands on your lap, pressing into your hands, slowly rolling up to sit. Pausing with your head hanging, the chin still tucked. Breathing 2 or 3 breaths. And then finally letting your head come on fully straight, your eyes open up. You breathe. So that's one of the magic 4. That's the slow motion dive. All right, from here, we're going to work adjacent to that tailbone, adjacent to that sacrum. So we're going to start working into the butt, the low back area. On a stability disc, you have to work a little bit harder to keep your hips level. If you are on a chair, pull the flesh away from those sit bones. Feel those sit bones weighted, anchored on the chair seat. And you may have noticed I've brought my feet in a little bit more narrow. So I'm going to park my feet about hip width apart. So knees straight over the ankles, toes sticking out past the knees. From the front view, they're straight up and down, and from the side view, they're straight up and down. I've inched my feet forward so that my shins are vertical, in whatever perspective you choose to view them. The shoulders up, back and down. You're going to welcome that right knee into your chest. So you can interlace your hands around the knee, drop your shoulders down your back. If you're covered in lotion, you got slippery hands, you might consider holding on with a belt. That will do too. If you have grip issues and you know how to work your yoga belt, this is even nicer. You can take that yoga belt and tie yourself up. So you would take that belt and make a big loop. So you have to know how to work the buckle on it. Make a big loop. and have that buckle end, that tail end in your lap. So the back part of that loop goes around underneath your armpits, through the armpits, under the shoulder blades. And then when you bring that right knee to your chest, you secure it to your chest. Pulling on that belt, all in that leg in, really clamping it to yourself. You want to make sure that belt is going in the high armpit, so high up. Get it off the bottom ribs, get it across your shoulder blades. Again, you can clip it around the shin or behind the knee, and that will just help hold it in place for you so you don't have to strain your carpal tunnel, your wrists. Shoulders down away from your ears, nice long neck. And now remember those sit bones again. If you're on a stability disc, you're not really going to feel the sit bones that well, but if you're on the solid chair, you can definitely feel your sit bones. Shift your body weight forward, shift to the front edge of your sit bones. Shift your torso forward so you find yourself perched on the very front edge of your sit bones. Still hugging that right knee into your chest, shoulders away from your ears. And breathing. This is a variation on Appanasana, half wind relieving posture. This one's commonly done lying down on the ground. Knee hug to the chest. You want to stay here for a few minutes. The longer, the better. Again, your shoulders are down, your head's on level and straight. Ideally, equal weight in both sit bones. Kind of hard to determine that if you're on the stability disc, but you try. If you're on the chair though, again, feel those sit bones and try shifting your weight to the very front edge of those sit bones so you're sitting up nice and tall. Your spine is straight, as it would be if you were lying flat across the floor. A straight spine. Shoulders down away from your ears, nice long neck. Slow yawn-like breath. And breathe. And from here, go ahead, release. Set that right foot down. Take a moment to breathe. Breathe into that lower abdomen. Breathe into the lower right quadrant. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So again, start with your feet about hip width apart, perfectly vertical shins, and then you're going to bring that left knee in. Again, depending on how talented you are on tying yourself up with belts, you can go around the shin or behind the thigh. That's a little trickier to get into behind the thigh. But if you want to try it, you can. Maybe bringing that left knee in towards your chest, shoulders down away from your ears, using that belt to help hold some of that weight. It's not the most elegant entry to a pose, but you know, it does. Shoulders down away from the ears, shifting your weight to the front edge of those sit bones. Want to keep equal weight in both sit bones. Left knee hugged in toward your chest, shoulders level. It is a bit of a challenge on that stability disc. And do your best to breathe. So I started with that right shin, right thigh, coming in against your belly. So starting on the right side of your abdomen, you smush into your colon, your large intestine. And you're helping to move things through the large intestine. Again, this is Ardha Appanasana, half wind relieving pose variation. And that compression of the large intestine helps to move things through. And it might just help to relieve some wind, if you know what I mean. So some yoga is best performed, practice home alone, not necessarily in a group setting. So breathe, relax your shoulders. Again, pay attention. Check in every so often with your sit bones. Notice if your spine is still straight, up and down, upright. Check in with your shoulders. Maybe yawn a couple times. And then you get to release that one as gracefully as you can. And take a moment to sit and feel all the feels. And you might find that you sit up upright a little bit easier. And maybe you have to reposition where your feet are in space. Maybe you're sitting towards the front edge of your sit bones a little bit more. Again, reach back, lift and separate. Once again, reposition those feet, a comfortable hip width apart. And take a shoulder shrug. Inhale up, exhale back and down. Once again, great big shoulder shrug. Inhale up, exhale back and down. One more time, great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Inhale up, exhale back and down. Now let's continue, again, working low in the back, hitting those muscles that attach to the sacrum, the tailbone, the coccyx. And we're gonna bring this right knee up. Been here, done that. And then you're gonna flex that foot and cross your right ankle over your left thigh. You want that left shin reach straight up and down. So do make sure you position that foot so it's centered front to back, side to side. Shoulders are up, back, and down. You're going to use your hands on the seat of the chair, the backrest of the chair, and project your chest forward, shifting your weight towards the front edge of those sit bones. And then without using your hands, push that right knee down towards the ground. Push that right knee down towards the ground. So pushing the knee, but also this ankle against the opposite thigh, hard. Maybe that leg will open up a little bit more. Kind of fun. Make sure that right foot is flexed flat. You can even kind of push through the heel against an imaginary wall. And keep pushing that knee down, your ankle against your thigh, and pushing that heel against an imaginary wall. As you sit tall, lift your ribs out of your hips and do your best to breathe. And then release. We'll come back to that one in a moment, and we'll do the Svarupa style in a moment. And I wanted to give myself an extra stretch in these hips. So let's switch. Bring that left leg up. I've been doing a lot of Zumba and belly dancing lately, and my hips are tight. Part of the fun of yoga is the ability to do other things. And doing other things makes yoga more interesting, because then you get tight and sore and stiff. And then you got to go work it out in yoga class. All right, foot flexed flat, chin straight up and down. Shoulders down away from your ears, pressing that left knee down. Pressing your left ankle against the thigh, pushing that left heel against an imaginary wall. Doing your best to breathe. Shoulders down away from your ears, hands pressing into the seat or the backrest of the chair, so you can lift your chest up. Sit towards the front edge of your sit bones. Have a very straight spine. And of course, breathe. And keep working it. Pushing that heel against the imaginary something. Pushing the ankle against the thigh. Pushing that knee down. Lifting your chest up. Dropping your shoulders. Breathing. And then release. I'm going to remove the stability disc because I really want to settle into this next variation. So the true Svarupa style, you wouldn't be on a stability disc. You'd be really well supported and grounded so that everything other than the target area is stabilized. All right, so again, putting something underneath your feet if you need to make a lap that's parallel. nice and level. I don't quite need it without stability. So you're going to kind of wiggle walk towards the middle front of the chair, middle front. You can really feel those sit bones up against the edge and the hard metal of your chair. Pull the flesh away from the bones. Get a good sense of where those sit bones are. Again, make sure your feet are about hip width apart. Shins vertical, front to back, side to side. And then you're going to bring this right knee up. And flex the foot across that right ankle, working that ankle bone into the groove near the kneecap. Or if that's too bony, you can slide a blanket under that, give yourself a little padding, or slide the ankle to the outside of the thigh so the ankle bone is not digging into the knee. Foot flexes flat, shoulders up, back, and down, hands on the seat of the chair, pushing that right knee down, pushing that right shin against the thigh, flexing the foot nice and hard, pushing against an imaginary wall. Sitting up nice and tall, getting a nice straight spine, and then slow motion dive. Start with your head. Just pause with your head hanging, chin on your chest. Let your shoulders pin onto your back, down away from your ears. So you're going for a stretch on the back of your neck. Still holding onto the seat or the backrest of the chair. Keep working the lower body. And then lean forward a little bit more. Maybe bring your elbows out onto your lap. So with your elbows on your lap, you've got some of the weight of your torso helping to push that right knee down and that right ankle against left thigh. But just let it be your body weight. That was your chance to sag and hang. We're staying on this side for our second iteration. Shoulders up, back, and down. Lengthen your spine. Sit nice and tall. Shift your weight towards the front edge of those sit bones. Push that shin, push that knee down. Keep pushing that heel against an imaginary wall. Nice straight spine. Hands at the back of the chair. Stick your chest out. Coming forward with as flat a back as possible. Maybe getting your chest out and over that shin. Breathe. Then shoulders down, chest lifted. Pick your right arm up. Diagonal across. Hand comes to the heel. Heel presses into hand. Hand pulls back on heel. Shoulders down, both elbows bent as you turn. Turn, looking over that left shoulder. Keeping both elbows soft, tucking in those front ribs a little bit to soften the back ribs. And then unwind. All right, second verse, same as the first. You're gonna take a moment, come out of that completely. Pause. Really valuable to pause after you've been in a deeply held pose, just to kind of let the blood decide where it's going to go to next. And then we'll move it. So go ahead, bring that left leg up, flex that left foot, ankle crosses over thigh, ankle bone in that groove near the kneecap, or ankle bone to the outside of the thigh. Foot flexed nice and flat, heel pressing up against an imaginary wall. Bottom shin straight up and down, front to back and side to side, toes can be relaxed. Shoulders up, back, and down. You can reach back, make sure those sit bones are clear. Hands come to the seat of the chair and tip forward onto your sit bones. Shoulders down away from your ears. Work on that very straight, upright spine first. It gets to come into this one 2 more times. Yeah, shoulders down, away from your ears, projecting your chest forward. And breathing. The mosquitoes are out tonight. I'm doing your best to breathe. And then you get to come up and turn it into the twist. Taking this left arm diagonal across. Hand to heel, heel presses into hand, shoulders down, chest lifted, both elbows are bent as you twist the night away. Softening your front ribs, spreading out your back ribs a little bit more. Dropping your shoulders away from your ears. And then unwind and release. Oh, ho, ho. Give it a shake. All right, from here, we're going to make our way down to the ground. Again, have all your toys nearby. You might consider kind of going at an angle towards your TV, so you can just kind of turn your head slightly to see the screen. You don't quite have your toes directly in front of it. Have all your fun stuff nearby. And we're going to do a variation on lake pose. Yeah, I think this is what I want. You might consider getting a second couch cushion. I should grab one too, just for fun. Make sure you have a second couch cushion, because you might need a little bit more height. Depending on how tall you are. So we're going to start down on the ground. Stage one, easy peasy stuff. Pillow can go underneath your head. Calves resting on the seat of the chair. Depending on how long your shins are, you might be able to tuck your feet through that hole. Let your feet release that way. So variation number one on lake pose, Viparita Karani, is this one. It's kind of like a waterfall. If you think of all the fluid in your legs draining, being pulled by gravity down into your belly, and then letting your belly get soft like jelly. And I ripply like the surface of a lake. And then you calm your mind down and settle in, really space out. Have a very calming, relaxing effect. I don't want you to pass out on me quite yet. You have the option of elevating your hips a little bit. So I recommend having that stability disc nearby if you got it. And most definitely your 2 blocks. If you don't have a stability disc, everybody's going to start with blocks. So everybody's going to get up off the floor a little bit. You can take these 2 blocks. If I hold on to them by the long edges, I've got my 2 blocks available. I'm going to bend my knees just enough to put my heels down so I can lift my hips up, pelvic thrust, and put blocks underneath my belt, below the belt, underneath the butt cheeks. And I've got 2 blocks under there on the low level height. And that elevates my legs a little bit more. And then of course you can see where we're going with this one. You might take those blocks, cover them up with a stability disc. And then you might have to challenge yourself a little bit more to stabilize that, which wouldn't be such a bad thing. I'm exaggerating. Try to stabilize your midsection before you were to take your feet off the chair. Stabilize that midsection before you take your legs in the air. Makes sense. You want to practice a strong, stable core if you're going to be taking yourself into an inverted pose. Before you go much higher though, if you have a pillow underneath your head, please remove it. You don't want to overbend your neck. We don't want the angle between the breastbone and the neck bone to approach 90. We want it to be like 110, 120 degrees. We don't want to go all the way up to 90. Okay? So the more you can put your head in a hole, so to speak, the better. So I wouldn't go much further than this unless you created a hole for your head. So how do you create a hole for your head? Well, to create a hole for your head, you got to come off. You got to come down. This is completely optional. I'm taking you through stages. So if you'd like any of these preliminary stages, feel free to stay here. Have a wonderful time. But if you want more and you've decided, okay, I want to give that a shot to get up into a deeper version of the pose. You're going to roll off for just a moment, and you're going to add a shoulder pad. Now, as I rolled off to the side, I made a mental note of where the top of my shoulder was. All right, touched it with my fingers. And that's where I'm going to put my couch cushion. So I've got a couch cushion to go underneath the tops of my shoulders, my shoulder blades, all the way to the base of my neck. I don't want it touching my hair. I want it touching the base of my neck. So the edge of this will be at the base of my neck. I've got a little support for my hips here. I might move this whole situation in a little bit closer to the chair. I've taken this off for a moment, but I'm going to put it back in place as soon as I lie down. And you have that extra pillow nearby. That extra pillow might feel good underneath your calves. So when you elevated yourself, if it felt like your calves were lifting off the seat of the chair, that's what the cushion's for. So we're just taking everything up to the next level. I roll over and get in there nice and tight, nice and close. Try to inchworm, get myself up onto this whole situation with my head hanging off the couch cushion. So the top of my shoulder is on the couch cushion. I've got about an inch here between the top of my shoulder and the edge of that couch cushion. And the firmer or densely packed your couch cushion, the better. And the taller it is, the better. Some people would benefit from doing like a 3-inch thick foam support underneath their shoulders, so there was really less bend at the neck. If you wanted more height, you would tuck more height underneath your hips, creating more of that water-like effect, that waterfall effect. Maybe even extending your legs out. If spa services was available to come drape a blanket over you or put some padding underneath your ankles or bring you another set of blocks, you could go there if that works for you. Notice I'm talking. Whatever you choose to do here, whatever level you're at, I encourage you to be able to breathe and maybe have a conversation. That's a good sign. So this is an inversion. An inverted pose is one in which the heart is at the same level or higher than the brain. It does a number on your blood pressure. So if you have blood pressure issues, you probably don't want to be doing this pose. If you have eyeball pressure issues, vascular problems, you might consider skipping this or not staying for very long. But this has an extremely calming effect on the body. The weight of your torso settling at the very top of your shoulders is stimulating 2 acupressure points. And these 2 acupressure points, when they are full of tension, congestion, pain, tension, are said to cut off the circulation of chi or energy up into the head. And so putting pressure on these points helps to drain that excess of energy out of the head. It has a descending effect in the body, which is kind of funky because we're now upside down. But these 2 points at the tops of the shoulders, when stimulated, help pull energy down or release energy down from your head to your feet. It's said to pull all kinds of energy down. So after 3, 4, 5 long, slow breaths, you'll start to feel muscles settling in or bones settling in, muscles releasing from bones. And maybe you start to feel your organs shifting. Maybe you feel your skin pulling the opposite way. And it's all fun. And then we move on to the next thing. So you're welcome to stay here. If that's rocking your world, it's a great pose. But I don't want you to fall asleep quite yet. So if you got a little bit more energy in you, you'll notice I removed this pillow from underneath where my shins were on the chair so that I can drag my heels in towards me and park the pinky toe blade edges of my feet on the seat of the chair. I'm letting my inner thighs fall open. So it's a supine, which means lying down, Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose, also known as butterfly. So maybe this is a fallen or sleeping butterfly. Supta Baddha Konasana. Just changing your legs, coming into this butterfly position. You'll feel the organs shifting and the skin rearranging. You can also play around. You can help move that fascia, help to liberate stuck areas by taking your fingers and dredging, dragging from pubic bone up along the inside of those hip bones all the way up to your waistband. From pubic bone inside the hip bones up to the waistband. Not quite pushing onto your bladder, but going around it. And you're welcome to stay here the rest of the night. If this is doing it for you, have fun with that. You also have the option of bringing your legs together. Use your hands, bring your legs together. And you're going to stretch your left leg out onto the chair seat. And bring that right knee in. Again, interlacing your fingers around the shin. We did this one seated, upright. So again, we're in that Ardha Appanasana. But from here, you're going to take your hands around the back side of the thigh. Interlace your fingers on the back side of that thigh. Work your hands down low towards the sit bone. So you're really stretching the upper back of the thigh, that hip joint yawns open. And then take that right leg straight. So you're holding down low on the meaty part of the thigh. And you endeavor to straighten that right leg completely. Try to control how much intensity you are experiencing. The closer you hold to your butt, the less intense. So with that said, if you want to go to the next phase, the next level, you work your hand towards the knee and stop just above the knee, still on the thigh, lower thigh, just above the knee. You're going to push in there. There's acupressure points right there to help open up the knee and really release those hamstrings. So if you've got your fingers interlaced, you can use the heels of your hands to kind of dig into the back of the thigh and press in the connection of the hamstrings. And breathe. And then ease up. I do not encourage holding on to your calf or your ankle because you might hyperextend that knee, or you might twist that shin or that calf one way or the other and torque your knee. So I'm not going to encourage you to go past the knee. So switching sides. Take a moment to pause, center, and then it's left knee to the chest. Holding on around the back side of the thigh. Take a moment to settle back into Ardha Appanasana, compressing the left side of your abdomen, squishing your guts. Maybe taking some deep belly breaths, relaxing your shoulders. Even though you know what's coming up next, take your time, breathe. Then you're going to work your hand down towards your butts. Want to hold on as close to your butt cheek as you can. It's the upper part of the thigh. So you're trying to get that upper thigh where it connects to the butt to stretch that area. And you're going to take that left leg straight. And then working your hands up. So just above the knee. Using the heels of your hands to dig into this. Breathing. And then release. And again, you take your legs all the way out, nice and straight. And breathe into your lower belly. Stay here all night if you like. Or if you've had too much pressure in your head, you can come off of all of this. If you're on a stability disc, you want to make sure you remove that. But if you're just on blocks, it's safe to kind of roll off blocks to your side. Take a moment to curl up into a ball, into a fetal position. And you want to take a good number of breaths here. Really round into that space between the shoulder blades. Drag your knees in close to your chest. Support your head on a pillow or a block. I'm going to push into this top hand, slowly roll up to sit. And you can stay down there or stretch out. Once again, do whatever kind of shavasana you want to do. Really, I encourage you to pick something and do it for a good 20 minutes or so. It could be any of these chairs where you had your legs, chair poses with your legs elevated on the chair, or shavasana flat down on the ground, or any other really relaxing, supported pose that appeals to you. And take a solid 20 minutes to really settle into it. The lady's choice on that. And when you've had enough yoga, know that I said namaste to you already. And I'm happy that you came out to join me tonight. Again, take your time. Don't pop up and rush off into your life. I'm just going to get my voice out of your head.